Alright folks, this is it. 9 months of slog and turmoil comes down to this very final week of the season for a number of clubs for a number of different reasons. It's a very exciting end of the season at both the top and the bottom of the Championship table. There is of course still a league title to play for, but more importantly, there's playoffs up for grabs and there's one final relegation spot that could be divvied up between 5 different sides. So let's have a quick look at the action areas of the league table, starting at the top. And of course, you've got Leeds and Burnley slugging it out for that Championship, but both of them are assured promotion back to the Premier League. What an incredible point total. But let's turn our attention to those final 2 playoff spots, with Bristol City and Coventry currently occupying the final 2 spaces, but they can be caught by Millwall, Blackburn or Middlesbrough. Very much reminds me of the League One playoff picture going into the final day of the season last season. You can relive my thoughts on that one by going back over the channel, but it just seemed like whenever a side got into a position of strength, they ultimately just seemed to want to throw it away. But let's turn our attention now, and where my attention has been for the pretty much all of the season, has been the bottom of the table. And here is the picture down the bottom of the Championship. Cardiff already relegated. Plymouth all but relegated because their goal difference is so bad, even if they win on the final day. So that leaves 1 space and 5 sides that could end up in that space when the music stops. Hull City currently somehow find themselves in that final relegation place. Just above them are Luton, Preston, who've really walked back into it, Derby County and Stoke City could all find themselves going down. Where are my beloved Oxford United in this picture, you ask? Well, my Yellows have already taken care of business, and we can travel to Swansea, sit by the sea and relax, safe in the knowledge that we will be in the Championship next season. Even if we lose 10, 15, 20-0 to Swansea, it don't mean jack. Of course, that isn't going to happen. If you know anything about my predictions videos, I have one golden rule. And last weekend, Oxford needed a win to cement their Championship status, and Oxford got that win over Sunderland. Why did they get that win? Quite simple. Oxford always win. And if you're familiar with my predictions, you know that I only use the most sophisticated technology to give you the most detailed analysis that I can find. So let's not waste time anymore. Let's get down to business. Let's do those predictions. Starting with a huge game at Ashton Gate at both ends of the table between Bristol City and Preston North End. Bristol City, it could be a first playoff berth for donkey's years for the Robins. All they've got to do is get a result in this game. They had the chance to do it against Leeds. Let's be facing it, that's quite a tall order, and the Robins got absolutely thumped. As I said earlier on in the video, Preston have seemingly slept their way back into this relegation picture. They looked completely safe a few weeks ago. I'm not sure getting to the FA Cup quarterfinals was such a good thing now for the Lily-Whites, because they look in a pretty precarious position. Their form has fallen off a cliff under Heckingbottom. It's 4 defeats in a row, and they face a really tough test going to Bristol City, a Bristol City side who need to win this game and will be going all guns blazing to try and win it. And I can't think of many worse sides to go up against when you need a win yourself than Bristol City, because Liam Manning's side are just going to dominate the ball, dominate possession, make Preston chase some more in what might be a very hot day down in Bristol. And worryingly, very worryingly for North End fans, I just don't see them getting anything out of this game. I think it's going to be a win for Bristol City, which cements their playoff position. It's going to be Bristol City 2, Preston North End 1. There's so many games with things on the line, and here is another one with Burnley taking on Millwall. The Clarets, of course, will be playing Premier League football next season, but they'd love to take a league title along with them as well. And what a phenomenal record that Scott Parker's team has had. They've only lost 2 games. They've only conceded 15 goals, but they still don't find themselves top of the table. But you've got to give some credit here to Alex Neil's Millwall side. The Lions have roared back into form where it seemed like it was season over, job done, and they were coasting in the mid-table. Their form has been immense over the last 6 games. 5 wins out of the last 6 games has propelled, if I can say the word, Millwall up, level on points with Coventry, but just behind the Sky Blues on goal difference. But like what I talked about, Preston having a tough task away on the final day. Millwall face maybe the toughest task going away to Burnley, and trying to beat the Clarets, trying to score a goal against the Clarets is no mean feat. And of course, you know it's a Burnley side that do want to win this game because they want to finish top, or they want to try to finish top of the table. So annoyingly and very frustratingly for Millwall, it's going to be final day heartache again for the Lions, and they're going to miss out on the playoffs because I think Burnley are going to do what they've done all season and just nick this game. I'm going for Burnley 1, Millwall 0. Coventry City versus Middlesbrough, another massive game between two sides fighting for the playoffs. Coventry have had 2 games against relegation-threatened sides over the last couple of weeks to get the job done. But they went away to Plymouth and got beaten. They went away to Luton and got beaten. A calamitous game with a dodgy red card and then a dodgy red card to Luton to even it up, and then a calamitous goal right at the end of the game to break Coventry hearts after they defended admirably for the majority of the game. But Coventry are still clinging on to that final playoffs place, despite the fact that their form hasn't hit the heights as it did when Lampard first took over. And they'll be confident of beating a Middlesbrough side at home, but you never know what to expect from the Borough. But it's a Borough side that have been very erratic, and so many times this season when they've got into good positions, they've blown it, and their form has been so inconsistent. It's probably not surprising that they will finish just outside the playoffs. But Middlesbrough need a win, so Middlesbrough are going to go for it, and I think that's going to bring the best out of a Coventry City side. Look, I do this a lot, right? I back goals in Middlesbrough games, and it usually comes back to haunt me, so probably best to lump 0-0 on this one. But I'm going for a high-scoring game at the CBS Arena, and I'm going for Coventry to come out on the right side of it. I'm going for Coventry City 3, Middlesbrough 2. Okay, folks, get your peanuts and your hot dogs ready as we head over to the baseball ground for the final time this season. And it is a crunch game between Derby County and Stoke City. John Eustace at the wheel, in charge of the Rams now, and that looked like a very astute managerial appointment, because let's be facing it, it did look like the Rams were going to go down under Paul Warne, and John Eustace has really turned their fortunes around. He's made them tough to beat, he's got them scoring goals, and they find a way to win. A fantastic late win over Hull last time out, and late goals seem to be a bit of a feature for Derby County too. A couple of weeks ago, the Potters were thinking they'd done enough when they beat Sheffield Wednesday at home, scoring a really ludicrous goal with the goalkeeper, Charles, of Sheffield Wednesday, hitting it against the backside of a Stoke player on a kick from his hands going into the back of the net. A real freak goal, but it looked like that was going to be job done for the Potters. But 2 bad defeats, against good sides, but losing 6-0 to Leeds and then 2-0 to Sheffield United has meant it is not job done, because of all these sides at the bottom having such an uptick in form. And it leaves Stoke with work to do, but I've gone for home wins in every game so far, and I'm going to go for another home win here. I just think Derby have been too strong under John Eustace, and when it's come to the crunch, his Derby County side have found a way to win. And I'm going for a win for the Rams that will keep them up. Derby County 2, Stoke City 1. Here's the first game that doesn't really mean anything. It's Norwich City versus Cardiff City. Yeah, horrible, miserable season for Cardiff City, and they end up going down. Looks like they're going to finish bottom of the table as well. It's been fraught with managerial change. They brought Aaron Ramsey in as a last-ditch Hail Mary pass to try and get them out of trouble, and it didn't work. They should have beaten Oxford a couple of games ago. Fantastic Cameron Brannigan goal rescued us a point when we were miserable that day, but then Cardiff could not beat West Brom on the road, and it means that they are the first side going down. But they would have fancied their chances if they were still in with a shout against a Norwich side who seemingly seem to have downed tools quite a while ago. And it's a Norwich side who find themselves in transition once again. I thought Jonas Thorup was coming in to try and rebuild Norwich, and then you kind of fire him right at the end of the season. So then it just means the Canaries seemingly are going to be in a rebuild season again next year. It seems a bit weird timing on that sacking. But I feel with the fact that Cardiff know they're down, I feel that Norwich will end the season on a high, and Norwich will end the season with a win, another home win in these predictions I'm going for. I'm going to go for Norwich City 3, Cardiff City 1. Plymouth Argyle versus Leeds United. Well, Plymouth are all but down. Yes, they can get to 49 points if they win this game, but their goal difference is so poor that it does mean that the Pilgrims will be playing League One football next season. But what a job Milan Muslic has done since coming into the football club. And they used to say this about Man United, that Man United don't lose games, they just run out of time. And I think that's been the same of Plymouth. Plymouth didn't get relegated this season, they just ran out of time. Because the season would have lasted another month, I think Plymouth would have pulled their way out of it. It's a completely different side. It's a completely different atmosphere. It's a completely different spirit to the side that Wayne Rooney took charge of on the opening day. And Pilgrims fans, I know you might be going down, but under this manager, I feel you've really unearthed a real gem here. And if Plymouth can keep their squad together, I have no doubt they will be pushing right at the top of the League One table next season to get back into the Championship. But they're coming up against Leeds. Look, Plymouth know they're down, but home park is a hostile atmosphere. But Leeds, who have been fantastic all season, but when it looked like they had done their Leeds United thing of throwing it away from a seemingly unthrowawayable position, they found form again and stormed back to the top of the table. 10 goals in the last 2 games for the Whites as well, without reply. I must add 11 if you take into the 1-0 win they had against my beloved Yellows on Good Friday. Means that they are in imperious form, and they know they need to be if they want to finish top of the table, and they almost certainly will. And I just think Leeds are going to be far too strong. They've been the best side in this Championship season, the best side that I've seen Oxford come up against, and they certainly deserve to win the Championship season. They deserve to go up in that number 1 spot, and I think Leeds are going to get the job done. The first away win of my predictions: Plymouth Argyle 0, Leeds United 2. Back to business down the bottom then, Portsmouth versus Hull City. But Portsmouth have nothing to worry about because John Mousinho's done a tremendous job to keep Pompey in the Championship. They had a horror show of a start, but Mousinho has been the man, and he's guided Portsmouth to safety, and they did it even with quite a few games. 3 games to spare? Was it 2 games to spare? 2 games to spare. I'll get my maths right. But Hull certainly are not safe, and they're the ones that find themselves in the most precarious of positions going into this final day, because they are in 22nd space, and they are the ones that need something from this game if they are to survive. All the other clubs will just be hoping Portsmouth can do them a favour and they can relax, but Hull have to try and go down to Fortress Fratton Park and get the job done. I don't think there's going to be any let-up from Pompey. I don't think there's going to be an easy ride for Hull City, who really should have done better with the players they've had at their disposal, and it's been a miserable season. Poor managerial appointment at the start, and then Ruben Sellers has come in. There's been fits and starts, but overall just not consistent enough. And ultimately, Hull City owner wanted more attractive football, which is why he got rid of Rosinia last season. Well, how's that working out for you? But there is hope for the Tigers, because I do feel that they are a better side away from home than they are at home. And I just feel that they'll end up getting a point in this game. Somehow, some way, the Tigers are going to cling to life in the Championship. Portsmouth 1, Hull City 1. Sheffield United versus Blackburn Rovers. Sheffield United have absolutely nothing to play for. They will be in the playoffs next season. They got a good win over Stoke City when Wilder changed things around. And whilst he'll want to go into the playoffs with a win, he won't see it as massively important. He'll just be hoping that there's no players getting any injuries, while he maybe tinkers with a game plan that might work against who they come up against. But Blackburn still could end up in those playoffs, and they'll need to go to Sheffield United and be at their best. But boy, have Blackburn turned it on in the final few weeks of the season. 1 draw and then 4 wins in a row has meant that Rovers have got right back into this playoff mix. Valérien Ismaël has certainly took his time to get his feet under the table, and it looked like Blackburn were losing to all the sides down the bottom, but he's turned it around now, and Rovers look a force again like they did in the early part of the season under John Eustace. And you know what? I think that Rovers are going to get the job done here. I think they're going to take advantage of a little bit of complacency in the Sheffield United players, and I think Blackburn are going to get that win that they need. It might not be enough for them, but it'll be a feel-good win on the final day of the season. Sheffield United 0, Blackburn Rovers 1. Sunderland versus Queen's Park Rangers. Nothing on the line for these two sides at all. Sunderland, of course, trying to find a little bit of form before they hit the playoffs. It is 4 defeats in a row for the Black Cats. The latest coming against my beloved Oxford United. And thank goodness that, yes, Reggie Labrie brought a lot of his big hitters back. But my goodness, those big hitters looked quite rusty, and Oxford were able to capitalise. I've got to say, my Yellows did play very well. So it's one final home game for Sunderland to try and hit a little bit of form before they get to the playoffs. But QPR never make any game easy, and it's been a very good year under Martí Cifuentes. Again, at the start of the season, they really struggled. They've had appalling luck with injuries, but they've found a way. They've hit little pockets of form. They pulled themselves out of a horrible start, and they're going to end up pretty comfortable in that mid-table position. If they could get a win here, I think it could end up being not quite a top half finish, but a very respectable finish. But either way, been a good season for the Super Hoops. But I just think Sunderland are going to get that feel-good win before they get into the playoffs to just cheer those Black Cats fans up a little bit who have been a little bit miserable. It's one of those curses of getting into the playoffs so early. It does mean that you are just treading water for a few weeks, which can make it a bit dangerous. But I think Sunderland will get a win here. Sunderland 2, QPR 1. Swansea City versus Oxford United. Usually, I would say, the biggest game of the weekend. But even I can concede that this one time that is not the case. And if Oxford were needing some points going to South Wales for this game, I would be extremely nervous because Alan Sheehan has done a remarkable job as caretaker manager of Swansea City. Their form has been unreal, and it looked like they were taking a real slide towards the relegation zone. He's turned things around. Yes, they were beaten last time out, but before that it was 5 wins in a row for the Swans, and they were... Well, if there was a few games left of the season, they'd have been thinking they could get into the playoff picture. So a very good end to the season for Swansea. Oxford, fantastic job staying in the league. A remarkable job, really. And I can't overstate that when you look at the finances and the money that we have to spend to compare to others. I know that's a world's smallest violin playing only for me sort of situation. But... it has been a remarkable job done, first by Des Buckingham and then by Gary Rowett. And Gary Rowett's performance has been remarkable. It's not always been pretty to watch, but my goodness, it's been effective. And he's picked up points, he's picked up wins. And this Oxford squad has been limited, but they found a way. And to be sitting pretty in 17th place with no fears of going down on the final day is pretty sweet, I've got to tell you. But let's turn our attention to this game. There's not really too much to say. I have to back Oxford to win because it is my golden rule. So let's just go for one final win for the Yellows. Away from home, it's not been easy, but we'll end it with a victory. Swansea City 1, Oxford United 2. Watford versus Sheffield Wednesday is probably the biggest dead rubber of all the dead rubber games going into this final weekend of the season. There's a lot of question marks hanging over both of these clubs now. Will Watford keep cleverly? Will Danny Roll want to stay at Sheffield Wednesday, knowing that the trouble that Chansiri brings to that club? How many players are going to be leaving Sheffield Wednesday in the summer as well? I can tell you that Wednesday fans are already worried about what it's going to be like next season. But Watford have been in horrible form. Wednesday's form has just turned around after going for a real horrible run themselves. So, bit of freedom, nothing to play for both of these sides, and I'm just going to go for a bit of fun in the sun of Hertfordshire. And let's go for a Desmond. Watford 2, Sheffield Wednesday 2.
Come on, Wednesday!
West Bromwich Albion versus Luton Town to bring out the season. Let's just start quickly with the Baggies, because what a weird season it's been for West Bromwich Albion. They've had little fits and starts. They had good start under Carlos Corberan, but they just couldn't win enough games. They became the draw specialist. Tony Mowbray took over. It looked like he'd sort of done a good job and made them more appeasing on the eye and was winning more games, but then his form hit the skids and West Brom end the season in pretty poor form in 10th place, and very unsatisfactory end to the season, I was sure, for all of those Baggies fans. But they will be in the Championship next season, and they don't have to worry about anything like what Luton have had to worry about for the majority of the season. I'm going to say this straight away. I thought Matt Bloomfield was a terrible appointment when he first came in, but boy has he proved me wrong. He's finally got some wins for this Luton Town side, and then they just kept winning and kept winning and kept picking up points, and they've been one of the form sides over the last seemingly 10 games of the season, and he's dragged them from looking like relegation certainties up to finally getting out of the relegation zone thanks to that last gasp win over Coventry City. They're finally playing like a side that looks like they should be in the Championship over recent weeks. Tough to beat. They've certainly got far too much quality in that side to have been down there at all. And Bloomfield has finally brought a winning formula back to Kenilworth Road. He's done a superb job, and I think it is going to be job done as he ends the season with a fine morale boosting victory that is going to see Luton Town in the Championship next season. Who knows what might happen for the Hatters next year. I don't feel they'll be challenging down the bottom, but who knows. It's going to finish at the Hawthorns. West Bromwich Albion 0, Luton Town 2. Okay, guys, let's see where that leads us at the end of the table. Saying where that leads us, it leads us with Leeds United winning the league on goal difference. Both sides getting 100 points. That is extraordinary, but it is Leeds who do get that Championship crown. In the playoffs is as you were, with Bristol City and Coventry both coming up with the goods on the final day of the season. Blackburn finishing just outside, so that means it will be Sheffield United versus Coventry and Sunderland versus Bristol City. Down the bottom, it ends with Preston North End going down. Unbelievably going down. Hull scraping that draw at Portsmouth has just meant that they stay up on 49 points on goal difference, and it is the Lily-Whites who have really slept into this final relegation space, who will be playing League One football next season. An unbelievable end to the season there. But it's good to see the 3 promoted sides there all staying up. All of them were heavily fancied to go down, especially my beloved Hughes. But Portsmouth, Oxford and Derby County will live to fight again in the Championship. But that is the end of the Championship season, folks. What a season it has been. It's been a harder league from my point of view than I ever expected it to be. And it has been tense and tight all the way through. It's been a roller coaster of emotions. Sometimes I've been loving it, sometimes I've been hating it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for supporting these videos. As always, leave your comments. Feel free to call me as delusional as you like. It really doesn't matter. It is just my opinion. Thanks for watching. Let's see how it all plays out. For the final time this season, let's get Leonard Nimoy to see us home.
My work is done here.
What do you mean your work is done? You didn't do anything.
Didn't I?